Go ahead and go.
All right, so we we also did a Cal Poly project, and we worked with the study abroad program here on campus. Unlike, this isn't the study abroad program where you would go and do an exchange for a semester in London or Thailand or wherever you're going. These are more for instructional classes that are actually based with Cal Poly professors. So say Jay Singh is taking the packaging class to India. It's the approval process that he has to do in order to take students international for Cal Poly class credit. So these are, we call them the players. This last academic year, international programs and extended education became responsible for the approval process of these applications. So in talking with the two women in international programs, Jennifer and Yuri, it sounds like the process is still being worked out of the kinks because it used to be just them, and now they have some additional steps going through extended education. So as a result, the application process they find has been taking, the application process is one step, but then it's getting that through the approval process, and it's kind of taking a long time, longer than they would want. And so as a result, it's preventing the reducing the application period for students to be able to apply to go abroad. So, we think of ourselves as students, and we would be greatly affected if I only had a month to apply, get approved for an international program, acquire funding, make sure it worked in my class schedule, and do all that. So they really want to extend that period out for the benefit of the students. So that's really the problem that we were trying to address with them.
So here we have our current state of math. Over here, actually. See, we start off with CPNC approval. You've got International Programs Office, and a complete application goes from them to Jennifer O'Brien first, International Programs. The big thing we dealt with a lot is how long this stuff can take if someone would just do it and move it right away versus how long it does take, mostly from sitting on people's desks, people just not being motivated to move it. So most of these times we have here for CT times is what it could take if people were motivated. If each party that gets involved would just take it, sign it, move it, take it to the next person. You've got Jennifer O'Brien in International Programs, and again, our inventories, of course, is one, but then we got the Budget Office, and from there it goes to Data Risk Assessment, from there to Married Academic Programs, to Brian, I always pronounce his last name wrong. Gigi, thank you. And Extended Education, and then back to President Armstrong. And you can see each of the times you got 2 hours for 1.5 and 1.5. Literally, some of these would end up being like a month at some of the points, just kind of just sitting, not moving. And also, if you notice again, the buildings that each one's go through, you've got some repeats in building 1. It goes from 38, 1, 80, 1, 116, 1 again. And also at the bottom here, lead time 356 hours, and beta time 12 hours. After it leaves President Armstrong, the approved application goes back to International Programs again, and students can then sign up for that. The whole process will start over. So here's a video. I'm going to try to cut down the volume a little bit because it's kind of loud. Oh, this thing will let me.
Just try turning them off.
Okay, it's going to be loud just a moment.
Stop, take some time to think, figure out what's important to you. Stop, take some time to think,
So just curious, that was the process that the student follows.
That's the actual,
Process where the application itself is. So the difficult thing about this is it's all paper, not really done electronically. So it would go to one desk, get delivered there, go to campus mail, like a day or two.
But it's a student application, it's not the, like, create the course application.
It is the creative course application. So it's created by the professor
Okay.
beforehand, and then it gets sent to the actual study abroad center. And then once it's there, it's approved, and then it's sent through that to get approved at all these different places. So it's just more of a visual of it, even though it's horribly pixelated. But just the route that we took, so it just basically starts out right here in 38. And once the application is done, it's sent to budget in the administration building, which is right there. And then once it's sent from there, it goes to risk management, to obviously to go to a country like Thailand or something where there's problems happening, they'll make sure the risk of everything's fine. And then once it's done, it makes the long trek all the way down to Jesperson. And in Jesperson, that's where everything is brought back together and it's approved through the extended education side of things. And then once that's done, it's brought back to one again to get the provost approval, and then from one back to 38 again, so then the actual people at Cal Poly GSB534 can put the program out there and say it's available to students. So that's just basically the short, not really of it all, and they really want to get it to be digitized, to be like a workflow. So they can just go, so this is where everything is, and then it gets sent around everywhere digitally. So the next slide is what we noticed. The major problems with Muda was that everything's waiting. So it gets sent to a place and it just sits there. There's no real incentive to push it on, to actually get it done. So it'll sit there and they'll be on the back burner until someone will have an email and be like, hey, it needs to be out like in a couple of weeks, when it's been sitting on that person's desk for weeks. And then also as the conveyance, it'd be so nice to have a digital workflow where everything's all together, but instead it has to go manually everywhere without it. It has to have emails to remind everybody, which is a really big pain. And obviously the unevenness, because it's like up and down all the different times. It's not consistently about this. It gets stuck in two major bottlenecks. So I'll actually go in more detail at everything else.
So our recommendations, meeting with our team, they kind of had the same ideas we had. They just kind of wanted an outside person to be telling and showing that we're also finding the same problems as they are. One is that the deadlines aren't really being enforced, so a teacher can bring something in late and they have to rush it through. So if the deadlines are more enforced, then people will know when they're going to need it done by, and so that'll speed up the process. Also now, you can just turn in your applications whenever you want, and then they'll just go out individually, but if we got them all with that deadline, and then everything went out as one packet, and a teacher, or someone that needs to approve it wouldn't wait for it to get multiples and look at them all the time. It'd also make it more urgent if they had a big stack of, say, 20 applications. They could just knock it all out at once. Another problem that they had is when teachers, or not teachers, but when people went out of town, they could be work-related or sick. They could be out for 2 weeks, and the package would just sit on their desk. And if we were allowed to have authorized signers, then they could, assign someone saying that when I'm out, you can sign this, or if it's, if it looks like something I would sign, you can push it through. Then the digital workflow management, like kind of Johnny said, it takes forever for these things to physically be shipped around. Sometimes they'll just go from the third floor to the second floor of the building, but they'll use university mail, so it'll take 2 days, 3 days to get just one floor down, when they could just be sent to one person. And then another big thing is they would like to have the budget approved, so now right now if there's any sort of fee difference, it has to be reviewed all over again. So they like to get like a 3-year budget with a fee escalation for auto approval. So as the price of airfare and hotels go up, it doesn't need to be reviewed again. And then this is our future state map. As you can see, it's basically the same layout as the current state map because it has to go through all the same steps. But you can see we put in like multiple ones at a time, strict deadline. And then another thing is, as you can see, all of our times are the same. They wouldn't give us the exact times on how long it took because they didn't want to get some people in trouble who were taking longer or so they just wouldn't give us that information. So this is our best guess on, we kind of just evened it out, so we couldn't show where the actual bottlenecks are, but they know those locations. And then authorized signers, this is usually where it gets into the issues over here. And then digital signatures, I think it was the provost, was tired of getting emails, so she was the one that wanted the physical copy, but now they're seeing the problems that's gone into, that's led, or how that's led to the problems. And they're trying to get it to the whole thing digital, but they're on the very bottom, and the IT just hasn't gotten to them. And then, any questions?
Yeah.
For the deadlines, did you also think about, and you may have said this, having deadlines for all the people who are signing? You said that there wasn't a lot of motivation for them to move it off. And you were saying deadlines for the faculty, but would there also be deadlines for, say you need to sign it by this date so it can move to the next person?
They're trying to do that right now. Their main thing with cleaning it out is that they're trying to talk to them personally about it. They know that it has to go through there. Jennifer said that she'd like a 48-hour turnaround time on somebody's desk. That would be ideal for her. And then the other thing with the application deadlines, they're going to have 2 deadline windows available for it's fall and winter quarter and then spring and summer quarters, so 2 separate deadlines. So they're implementing it now on June 1st is going to be the first hard deadline that they're implementing. And then next year, once they get it flowing, it's actually going to move up to April. So that way they can budget the time that the application comes in. They have to do all their paperwork in the International Programs Office before sending it on its way. But the whole idea is that it cuts the time from right now about 10 weeks to about 5 by implementing the deadlines and then having the deadlines of each person about 48-hour turnaround time. That allows for a little flexibility as well, knowing that some are going to need a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, their goal is by doing that to have all the information available, say when fall quarter starts. They've already had their flyers made, they have the website up, they have all the information available so people can walk on campus and know that it's available and sign up right away. It's not so last minute.
And right now, another problem with the deadlines for the teacher, or not the teachers, but for the review, is that, like I said, if someone's out of town, so without the other steps put in first, then the deadlines would be a lot harder to meet, because they can't send it to someone if they're out of town. So we get it online, or the digital workflow, and then also have the signing for authorized signers.
So what do you have for teeth and the deadlines?
They have, you mean like reinforcement of them? They've got a lot of buy-in from the heads of Extend, like Brian at Extended Education and then Jennifer, and they worked a lot on their relationships. So they've made it clear that basically if you don't get it by June 1st, they're just basically, they can't really work with you. You kind of go to the back burner if at all. So they have a June 1st into international programs, start the approval process by July, so that way it'll be ready.
So that's, where's that on your guys' map? Can you put in that back up? So where's that, so that's like the start point, right?
Right.
Deadline.
So strict deadline. So this is not deadlines for the people in the process, this is,
The deadline is, to get the process in, and then they'd like to have deadlines through here, but they can't really tell the president that you have to have this done for us.
By doing the deadline is to then consolidate all the individual applications into basically one large application packet, to be like, these are the 20 programs trying to go in the fall. So that deadline is more to get them all consolidated and moving through as one. The 48-hour turnaround is just a lot of relationship management with everybody in the different steps to try to get that out.
I think, it sort of seems, let's say, just literally sort of get this out. So batching, is usually the absolute wrong way to go from a lean improvement sort of standpoint. You kind of, we fight and lean to sort of eliminate that sort of batching sort of thing that they're trying to sort of implement here. And I think you wind up with the same sort of thing that the ASI group says. It's like May 1st, we got 20 of these things, and some of them are going to get done in the first 5 days, and then some of them are going to take, going to be done at, day 120 or whatnot. So I think another part of what you need, besides from the relationship things, you need something that says that these things are actually gonna, be completed at, 5 per day, so that all 20 are gonna get through in, 4 days or whatever, so. I'm sorry, I just was off.
When you were going through the process, at any time did it come up that maybe one of the signers wasn't valuable to have in the chain?
Well, yes, but it's
Internal politics?
government,
Yes.
so
Okay.
everything.
And what we did find is that a lot of times, some people are working with themselves and some people have assistants that do some work for them. So a lot of the teeth of the analysis of the approval might be done by their assistant, and then they provide the summary up. But they don't have the authority to then just sign. So if their boss is out of town, the assistant can't just push it through. So I think that they have acknowledged that. That's why our steps in the process didn't really change, because they acknowledge that they have to go there. And so unfortunately, we haven't been able to eliminate any signatures off the list.
What they'd really like is, because I think every year they get 20 applications, but 19 of them are the exact same from the last year. But it has, little fee increases or, with the economy and just how prices of things change. Everything has to get re-looked at. So they want to get it with the 3-year budget. They like to be able to just get pushed through. So either they don't have to sign it, or they can just look at the price, look at the matchup, define, go. So that's, right now, everything has to be re-reviewed, every step of the process every year.
So